Hello everybody, and welcome to the preparation for part 1 of the Cambridge Pet exam. This part of the exam is about short texts and signs, and what they mean. The first part of understanding what a short text means is to look at what type of text it is. Is it a sign? Is it a text on a telephone or chat message? Or is it a short letter? The second part is to determine which words are the most important. The third part is to reread the whole text, and finally, the most important part is to paraphrase it or to say it in your own words. Let's see how it's done. The first group of texts that we're going to look at are signs, which are generally instructions which are written in incomplete verbless sentences. This means that nouns and words like prepositions or conjunctions take on added meaning. Let's look at the nouns that we have in the sign first. Looking at just the nouns, this tells us that we're at a campsite with groups of 4 in arrangement. It's talking about what you need to do if you have groups of 4. Let's see what other information could be important. In this case, maybe farm, to know the type of the campsite. No, to say which type of groups. And previous, the type of arrangement. And you also might want to look at 4 or more and by or unless. So, farm campsite, no groups of 4 or more unless previous arrangement. Now you want to ask yourself why this text was written. This is to inform users of the campsite that they need to make arrangements if they're going to have large groups. Who was the text written for? Users or campers. Now let's read the whole text from the beginning. Holland's farm campsite. No groups of 4 or more unless by previous arrangement. Let's try paraphrasing it. For this campsite, you need to book if you're going to go in groups of 4 or more. Let's try a second sign. Please notice that one of the first words here is a verb which is in the imperative form, or the form which gives instructions. First, let's underline our nouns and the other words that we think might be important. You'll notice that we've got a verb, a noun. These are adjectives for the verb. This is a preposition. This is a gerund, which is considered grammatically to be a noun, and this is an adjective. Let's read our underlined information. Give staff your college student number before using Computers Study Center. Where would we find this text? In a library. Who would it be directed towards? Students. Let's reread the whole text from the beginning to the end. Please give staff at the desk your college student number before using any of the computers in the study center. Let's try paraphrasing it. You need to give your student number before using the computers at the study center. Now let's have a look at texts. Texts tend to be written in full sentences, though many times they're not written in full paragraphs. Because they're written in sentences, we'll be looking for nouns and for verbs. In this exercise, we're going to be looking at a general text and a personal text. This is the general text, from one person to several different people. Let's identify vocabulary. Class Thursday. Remember during work lesson as you need to have notes to help you do experiment. That should be enough to tell you what this text is about. What is the purpose of the text? To inform the students what they'll need for class. Who is it written for? for the biology class students. Let's reread the text. Biology class on Thursday. Please remember to bring last terms to the lesson, as you need to have your notes with you if you do an experiment. Let's do the paraphrasing. You will need your notes for class on Thursday to do an experiment. This is a personal one-on-one text message. Let's identify the vocabulary like we did with the last text. Sports shop called. They've repaired tennis racket. You have time to collect it? Shall I? My way home from work. What's the purpose of this text? Who's it for? Let's reread it. Tom, the sports shop called, the one on Hatton Street. They finally repaired your tennis racket. Will you have time to collect it, or shall I do it on my way home from work? Mom. Let's paraphrase it. Are you going to pick up your tennis racket, or should I? Let's start with our letters. The first one is a general letter, just like our first text was a general text. They're very similar, and the way of identifying the important vocabulary is also very similar. Let's do it. Students' Oxford trip. Money for Saturday's trip must be in school office by Wednesday lunchtime latest, or you will lose your place. What's the purpose? To say when payment's due. Who's it for? The students on the Oxford trip. Let's reread it. To students booked on the Oxford trip. Money for Saturday's trip must be handed in at the school office by Wednesday lunchtime at the latest, or you will lose your place. Let's paraphrase. Saturday's trip must be paid by Wednesday lunchtime. Now that you've seen how to read the texts and to prepare yourself to answer the questions, watch the next video to see how we answer them.